So tonight's healthy living topic is sexual health. When you hear the term sexual health, what do you think of? What comes to mind? Maybe you thought of preventing STIs, sexually transmitted infections, or maybe you thought of preventing unplanned pregnancies. While those are both two very important components to sexual health, the word sexual health, however, is actually an umbrella term that covers many parts of a person's physical and emotional well-being surrounding sex and sexuality. And sexual health is an essential part to your quality of life, no matter what your age is. So it doesn't matter how old you are, your sexual health still matters for your quality of life and is important. Since sexual health is very hard to define, it's very complex. The World Health Organization gives us a definition. So the World Health Organization defines sexual health. I'm going to go ahead and read this. Bear with me. It says it's a state of physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being in relation to sexuality. It is not merely the absence of disease, dysfunction, or infirmity. Sexual health requires a positive and respectful approach to sexuality and sexual relationships, as well as the possibility of having pleasurable and safe sexual experiences free of corrosion, discrimination, and violence. Again, I know that was a lengthy definition, but it is important to know what sexual health is before you try to achieve it. And for tonight's webinar, we're going to be talking about what it means to be sexually healthy. So we're going to break that definition down a bit. We're going to talk about the benefits of sexual health. And then we're going to discuss what you can do to improve and enhance your sexual health. And at the end, I'm going to share some resources and support. So your sexual health is a big part of your life. And that's because it affects and it is affected by other parts of your health, such as your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your social health. So that's why it's important to be sexually healthy, because it can greatly impact all other areas of your life and your health. Well, what does being sexually healthy even mean? Well, first, sexually healthy means you are well informed. You understand the risks and the benefits of sex. You understand that sexuality is a natural part of life and involves more than just sexual behavior. Being well informed also means you have access to sexual health information and education. So overall, you are well informed about sex and sexuality. Next, it means you are careful. Being sexually healthy means you are careful. You make an effort to prevent unintended pregnancies and STIs. It's also being careful in the sense that you are seeking care and treatment when you need it. So you are being careful. Sexually healthy also means you are respectful to yourself and to others. You recognize and respect the sexual rights we all share. Lastly, sexual health is the ability to embrace and enjoy your sexuality throughout your life. Enjoying yourself sexually in a way you are comfortable with, and being able to experience sexual pleasure, satisfaction, and intimacy when desired. So we learned that sexual health is a big part of life. We talked about what it means to be sexually healthy. Now let's talk about some benefits to sexual health. Research does show that there's many important benefits associated with being sexually healthy. What benefits can you think of? Go ahead and let me know in the chat. Shout them out for us. I'll give you guys a second. Any benefits to being sexually healthy? Well, of course, the first benefit would be to avoid sexually transmitted infections and unplanned pregnancies, right? That's a big benefit to being sexually healthy. Also, having an enhanced self-esteem, valuing and feeling good about yourself is associated with sexual health. Having a peace of mind, that's another benefit. Someone said happiness. Yeah, happiness. That's a great one, right? That's a great benefit. So having that peace of mind, happiness. Another really great benefit that I think is really important is having positive and satisfying relationships. And again, that's because there's a big connection between your sexual health and your social health, right? There's a big connection there. So having positive and satisfying relationships is very valuable for a person's overall well-being. So that's a great benefit. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is a great one too, right? You're being self-aware of yourself. You are feeling valuing yourself. So that's a great one. Thank you, Elise. And overall, one of the biggest benefits to sexual health is an enhanced quality of life. An enhanced quality of life. And that's awesome, right? Who doesn't want that? So there's many great benefits to being sexually healthy. And making sexual health a priority can significantly improve your emotional, physical, and mental well-being, as well as enhance your intimate relationships. So again, a lot of great benefits to being sexually healthy. Now that we talked about what it means to be sexually healthy, what benefits can come from being sexually healthy, now let's talk about what you can do to maintain and enhance your own sexual health. I'm going to share 3 ways that you can improve your sexual health. So number 1 is to get educated, right? The basics, sex education. Who remembers the first time you learned about sex? Who taught it to you? How long ago was it? Go ahead and let me know in the chat. I'm curious to know. Well, to be sexually healthy, it's important to be well informed and educated about sex and sexuality. And you might think that you already know it all, but there's always new information coming in. There's new perspectives, there's new methods, new research. So there's still a lot of more information coming in. It is not a one and done deal. You need to continuously educate yourself and continue educating yourself about sex and sexuality. A lot of people are saying school, right? Yeah, so you learn about sexual health in junior high school. Wow, that was a long time ago, right? Think about all the research and all the things that have been discovered since then, all the new perspectives and all that. So exactly, it's been a while since you really got professionally educated on this, right? For example, when I was growing up, we always heard the term STDs, and that was referred to as sexually transmitted diseases. Well, now experts actually use the word STIs. And oh, we have a question in the Q&A. So Miss Alice asked, what is the difference between an STI and an STD? That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So an STI stands for a sexually transmitted infection, right? So that's when you're infected by some type of microorganism. So a bacteria, right, or a virus. And then if that infection starts causing you symptoms, and you start having symptoms from that infection, you start having maybe some functions are disrupted in your body, then that infection is now considered an STD, for a sexually transmitted disease. So basically, all STDs begin as an STI. So that's the difference. Thank you for asking that question. So as a side note about getting educated is that if you are a parent yourself, it is extremely important that you are well informed and educated about sex and sexuality. So that way you can help your child become smart about their bodies as well. And remember, sexual health is more than just preventing STIs and unplanned pregnancies. It's also about creating positive and healthy relationships, right? And expressing yourself, expressing your sexuality in healthy ways. And there's a lot of information on how to do those things as well. So it's not just about getting educated about STI prevention. It's also about how to have positive relationships with people, sexual relationships with people. So that's another part that you can also educate yourself as well. Well, to get educated about sex and sexuality, your first thought might be to Google it, right? Well, as we all know, there's a ton of misinformation on the internet. So my recommendation is to find reliable health information. Well, how can you do that? Well, I suggest going to websites that are from not-for-profit organizations, educational institutions, government agencies, professional organizations. So these types of organizations are they're gonna have reliable information for you. And these websites usually are gonna be ending in .gov, .edu, and .org. So that's really important. And at the end of this webinar, I'll be sharing some reliable resources as well. So overall, it's important to learn as much as you can about sex and sexuality, so that way you are more informed and you're more prepared to make good decisions. So get educated. The second way that you can improve your sexual health is through communication. Communication. Communication is truly the best way to stay sexually healthy. Well, who here just cringed at the thought of being open and talking to someone about your sex life, right? That's common. Well, being upfront about your sex life may seem scary, but it is important to do so in order to maintain healthy relationships with yourself and with others. Well, who should you communicate with? Number one, of course, is your healthcare provider, your doctor. The more open you are with your healthcare provider, the more likely you are to receive the best care possible, which is really important, right? So speak up for yourself, be honest, ask questions, communicate with them so they know how best to help you. You should feel comfortable talking to your healthcare provider about your sexual health. So make sure to find the right provider for you. The next person you should be communicating more with is your partner, right? Talking about STIs, birth control, boundaries, desires. That's a big one, talking about your desires. It is all very important for your sexual health. You need to be direct, clear, and honest when talking with your partner. And as a bonus, research does show that couples that talk about sex, who communicate a lot about sex, tend to have happy and healthy relationships, right? But remember that communicating also means listening to your partner, listening and responding to what they are telling you. Getting consent is another very important part about sexual communication. And you cannot get consent if you are not communicating. So communicate with your partner. Is there something that you have been wanting to talk to your doctor about your sexual health? Is there something that you've been meaning to talk to your partner about your sexual health? Maybe you've been too afraid to? Well, I am here to encourage you to overcome any feelings of fear and embarrassment and talk more about your sexual health, because being free to talk about your sexual health with your partner and your healthcare provider is truly key to your health and your quality of life. So communicate more. The third way you can improve your sexual health is by making sexual health a part of your healthcare routine. Well, what does that mean? That basically means engaging in sexual health services. There's many preventative sexual health services that are available to you that can help you stay healthy, detect and treat any problems early. So there's a lot of great services. Let's go ahead and learn about some of them. So number one, the first service available to you, of course, is STI screening, right? Most of the time, STIs have no symptoms. You don't know if you have it. And testing is the only way to know for sure if you have an STI. If you're sexually active, make STI testing a routine part of your life. Just like you go get your blood pressure checked at the doctor's, right? Go get an STI test. Getting tested a minimum of once a year is recommended for being sexually active. If you do have an STI, it is also very important to know as soon as possible, because some STIs can cause serious damage over time, even if you feel totally fine right now. And of course, STIs can spread to other people. So you can be asymptomatic, not have any symptoms, and you can be spreading it to other people. So again, very important to making STI part of your healthcare routine. It's also being responsible and part of taking care of yourself. So it's very important. An STI test can be very quick, painless, and sometimes even free. So they're really great, and we should be including them in our sexual health routine, our healthcare routine. I'm also going to be giving some resources later on about testing, so stay tuned for that. The next service available to you is going to be vaccines, such as the HPV vaccine. Please talk to your healthcare provider and discuss which vaccines are right for you to make sure you stay sexually healthy. Mr. Lopez, a Cucamonga Valley Medical Group healthcare provider, recommends engaging in these prevention strategies, such as vaccinations against common STIs, such as hepatitis A, hepatitis B, and HPV. Of course, abstinence, a reduction of sexual partners, and the use of a barrier device, such as a male or female condom. And doing all these things are great prevention strategies to keep you sexually healthy. Another great preventative healthcare service is counseling. Counseling is available to you. And during counseling, this is a wonderful service where you and a healthcare professional discuss ways to help you make healthy decisions. So counseling is really great. It's also beneficial to get counseling to learn how to develop positive relationships. So there's also counseling on that front as well. So consider making counseling part of your healthcare routine. So tonight we learned what it means to be sexually healthy, the benefits of sexual health, and you learned 3 powerful ways that you can enhance and improve your sexual health. Remember, your sexual health matters because it can greatly impact all areas of your life and your health. So get educated, communicate more, and make sexual health part of your healthcare routine. And of course, please talk to your healthcare provider about any concerns or any questions you may have about your sexual health. In addition to tonight's topic, I wanted to shout out that March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Colon cancer is the 2nd leading cancer in the United States. So that's why it's important to make screening for this cancer a part of your annual physical. A colonoscopy is the most sensitive test in detecting this cancer. And even though it is not the most ideal procedure, it does have the potential to save your life. Cucamonga Valley Medical Group healthcare provider, Ms. Ursula, she recommends routine screening of average risk adults beginning at age 50 through 75. You will also need early and more frequent colon cancer screening with a colonoscopy if you have an increased risk. Well, what is an increased risk? That means you have a personal history with colon cancer, you have a family history of colon cancer, or you have a history of inflammatory bowel disease. So stay in charge of your health and make preventative screening for this cancer part of your healthcare routine. Before we get into our Q&A, I'm going to share some valuable resources for sexual health. You can also take a screenshot of this, or you can take a picture with it on your phone, so that way you have it with you. So the first resource is Planned Parenthood. This one's a very famous Planned Parenthood resource. They have a lot of sex education materials. They have sexual health services. So this is a great resource. The Johns Hopkins University I Want the Kids. This is a great resource to get screening for STIs. What's great about this is that they send it to you. It is free and it's confidential. So great resource for that. CDC Get Tested. This is a great website where you can actually plug in your zip code and it will give you resources surrounding your area where you can get tested and things by you. So this is a good resource. Go Ask Alice by Columbia University. This is a great website to get educated on sex and sexuality. They have a lot of great accurate information, so this is a good resource. Same with American Sexual Health Association. They have a lot of educational materials. So these 2 resources would be really nice to use for getting educated about sex and sexuality. This last resource here, Anxiety Depression Association of America. This is a great resource. You just plug in your zip code and it will connect you with support groups in your area, therapists in your area. And this is related to sexual health because, again, sexual health is connected to our social health. So being able to talk and create intimate relationships, and it's just a big part of being healthy and your well-being is talking to people. So I love that resource. That's a great resource as well. Alrighty, so let's do some Q&A. I am here. Let's ask some questions. Anything you want to ask, I can answer. So I'll go ahead and give you a second to submit any questions you may have. We do have our first question, and it is from Miss Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer, and she asked, can you get an STI from skin to skin? And the answer is yes. That is a great question. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, so some STIs you can get through bodily fluids, right? So that is one way. But STIs like genital herpes and warts, those things are actually transmitted skin to skin. And this is a great point about being educated about these things, right? Because your first thought, you'd be like, oh, skin to skin might not have any risks, but it does. So that's another great point about getting educated and learning about these things. So you are more prepared to make those good choices. So thank you for your question. That was a great question. Well, we have one more question, and it says, what are your recommendations for reducing your risk of getting an STI? That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So to reduce your risk of getting an STI, of course, using a barrier device such as a condom, male and female, those are great ways to reduce your risk for STIs. Another great thing that I recommend is to negotiate sexual activities. That's really important, right? That's part of communicating. So if you guys talk before, negotiate what's going to happen. That way you are less likely to get an STI. Also, regular screening. That's a great way to prevent STIs. So you're staying on top of things and reducing the number of sexual partners. So that's going to be another way to reduce your risk of getting an STI. Okay, it looks like we're not getting any more questions. That's all right. Are you sure? I'm here. Any questions I can answer? And remember that if you want to get birth control, you can ask your healthcare provider at any time. At any time, you can talk to your healthcare provider about these things. Okay, so we have a question, and I'm going to go ahead and just read it. I won't say the name. It says, my 50-year-old husband doesn't initiate sex as often anymore. Is it because he doesn't get fully erect like his younger days? I don't want to initiate and cause his anxiety. That's a great question, Evelyn. That is a great question. And you know what? That's something that maybe you guys are going to talk about. Maybe that's where the power of communication comes in. You know, maybe just talk to him about this. Talk to him, you know, what's going on. I still want to do that. So I think this is a great point where we want to talk to our partners more, right? Yeah, and even, you know, I would like to suggest too is couple counseling. Couple counseling is great. I've heard a lot of great things from couple counseling, especially for, you know, couples who are hitting their 50s. These things do come up. You are definitely not the first couple to be experiencing this type of issue. So go see someone, talk to someone. That's going to be my biggest recommendation is talking. You know, and maybe he does have some anxiety, right? Maybe he does, but you're not going to know that unless you talk to him about it. So thank you for your question. That's a great question. Any more questions? I do want to answer some more questions, so you can go ahead and let me know. Just as a shout out is that I did insert the link to our landing page in the chat box, so you guys can visit that website and see any upcoming webinars coming up. So that is in the chat box for your reference. Alrighty, it looks like we're not getting any more questions. Next month, Healthy Living topic is all about healthy cooking, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. So we're going to be talking about learning to cook healthy at home, involving the family, healthy cooking when you're busy. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a fun webinar. I hope all of you guys can join. And yes, so I guess that will be it for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this webinar and found it helpful. I did want to shout out that next month, our registration will be a little different. So next month, register for our webinars and you don't have to register anymore. You will stay registered and you'll get an email notifying you one day before all of these webinars and the topic for that month. So that will be great. And yes, so thank you all for joining. Thank you for your participation. And I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much.